Hey everybody, this is Russ from Metro Game Core. I'm gonna guess that if you're watching this channel, you probably own a cheap little handheld device. Something like the Miyoo Mini or the Anbernic RGXX handhelds. You've got one of those things. Maybe you paid 50, 60 bucks for it, and you play it every once in a while, but I am also going to guess that it probably collects a little bit of dust. And I think it happens to a lot of people. You grab one of these things, you're like, man, this is gonna be a great way to play my favorite Mario or Pokemon game, but you never really get around to it. Maybe instead you install new software on it, you browse around, maybe add some box arts, but you never actually get to play those games. In this video, I want to talk about a new approach that I've been using to make sure that I focus my gameplay on the games themselves. So this thing is the Miyoo Mini Flip. I reviewed it a few weeks back. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm now calling it my 5-game handheld. The idea behind this is that I've only got 5 games installed on it, and I've cleaned out the operating system, so that's all I see. I go through, navigate through my games, and then open it up. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to install this from start to finish on one of your retro handhelds, and most of them will be supported. All the Anbernic XX devices, your Miyoo Minis, your TrimUI bricks, all of these are going to work. And I really love this simple experience. You're going to boot it up and you're going to see your 5 games. It's going to have box art to accompany it, and all of them are going to match as well. I think it looks stunning. And the best part about it is that it easily takes less than an hour from start to finish to get this all set up. And I think one of the reasons why people like me are so drawn to these retro handhelds is because they allow us to relive some of our childhood gaming experiences. Maybe there was a game we loved to play, or maybe there was a game we never got to play, and we can do all that on a handheld. And I don't know what kind of magic is involved in really limiting the games list, but I found that when I just keep it to 5 games, I tend to play them more, and that's what I'm hoping to help you with here in this video. So grab a snack and drink, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, to start, you're going to need a couple tools. First and foremost, you will need a retro handheld. There are a ton of options that we can use with this particular setup. The underlying operating system that we're going to use is MIUI, and it's available on 23 different handhelds. All the Anbernic RGXX ones, the Miyoo Minis and all of those, as well as the TrimUIs. If you don't know anything about these handhelds, I will leave a link to some of my favorites down below. Now, this setup will require you to use a microSD card to put all of your games and the operating system on, and I'm just going to use this standard one right here, a 16 gigabyte from SanDisk. And the size of the card really doesn't matter, but 16 gigabytes is the sweet spot for me for having a very small library, and these cards are usually under 10 bucks. And then finally, you also need to plug your microSD card into your computer to get all of this set up, and so I would recommend getting a USB card reader. I use this one from Anker because it has the ability to use an SD card as well as a microSD card, and it has USB-C and USB-A connection, so it's kind of a jack of all trades. You can usually find these for about $15, and they will last you for years and years. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the guide portion of this video, and I will leave link down below a written guide, my MIUI starter guide, which will walk you through the whole MIUI setup process, but I'm also going to include all the instructions that we're doing here today on this page as well. So first thing we want to do is install MIUI. This is going to be the main front end and launcher that we're using. We're just going to customize it. So go over to the releases tab over here and then find the latest release, which as of making this video is a couple weeks old. In the assets section, you're going to see 2 different options, base and extras. We are going to download each of these. So just click on them and then put them in whatever folder you would like. And then next up, we're going to install this tool called GameView. I have it on my own GitHub repository. So this is a tool that allows us to see all of the games on the front screen. So go over here to releases, I just released it, and then download the zip file right here. And so here's a look at all the files that we're going to use in this video today. We've got MIUI, which we just downloaded, same thing with the GameView.zip file. And then I've got 5 different game files that I want to focus on in this particular installation. Now, just to be thorough, I've also included a BIOS folder right here with a few BIOS files. Now, with the Game Boy BIOS, for example, you don't actually need these, but they will allow you to have the boot logo if you want them. And then if you plan on playing any PS1 games, then you want these particular BIOS files as well. We're going to install them in our installation, even though you may not need them for this particular setup. And so now that we've got our operating system and game files all together in one place, let's go ahead and put them on a brand new SD card. And so here on the left is our blank SD card, 16 gigabytes and FAT32 formatted. So it is ready to go for a drag and drop experience. So we're going to go over here to the base folder and we're going to open it with 7-zip. Now, the way that you install MIUI will vary depending on the device, so you can actually open up the README file and read all about it and see exactly how to install it. But for the Miu Mini Flip, it's pretty easy. We're just going to grab this BIOS folder, the ROMs and saves folders, this one called MIUI, and then finally the one that says Miu. Hey everybody, quick correction. For the Miu Mini Flip, you need Miu 285 as your folder, not the regular Miu one, but that's really the only change. And now to install MIUI, we just need to drag and drop this over into our microSD card and let it do its thing. So once that transfer is done, we can then go and close this out and then do the same thing with extras. We're going to open it up with 7-zip, and now we want to move over all of these files as well. This is going to give you the option of adding additional systems, and it's also going to include the tools pack, which is really important for the next step. So now that we've installed all this, let's move on to the next step, which is to add all of our ROM files. So you can see here we've got a folder for each system, and then you just have to move these over to the corresponding folder. So with Link's Awakening DX, that's a Game Boy Color game. So I'm going to find the GBC folder right here and then move it over. Next, with Life Force, that's an NES game, so I'm going to move it over to the NES folder. I've got two different Game Boy Advance games, so I'm going to grab both of them, move them over to the GBA folder, and then finally I also have one Super Nintendo game, Super Mario World, so I'm going to move that one over to the Super Nintendo folder as well. Now earlier I mentioned that you also can add BIOS files if you would like, so let's go over into the BIOS folder here, then open up our own BIOS folder, and then you have to move them into the corresponding folder. So this is the Game Boy BIOS, I'm going to put it in GB, Game Boy Advance BIOS goes over here to Game Boy Advance, and then finally Game Boy Color goes over to GBC. If you are going to use PlayStation games, don't forget this one that's under the PS folder, and that should be it. Okay, now that we've moved over our files, we now want to add box art for each of these games to make it look pretty. Now, there are many different ways you can do that, but the way that we're going to do it in this video is to use Steam Grid DB. This is because this one has the same size box art for all the systems, which I think is going to look really good as we scroll through. So on this website, let's go ahead and look for the first game, which is going to be Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. So I'm going to type in Zelda Link's, and there it is, Zelda Link's Awakening DX, the Game Boy Color version. And what we're looking for here is what they call grids on this database. We're looking for those vertically oriented ones like this one or this. And really, it's going to be your choice. What do you like between all of the different box arts? You can have like the Nintendo Switch one or a Game Boy Color one with the Game Boy logo. It's all really going to be up to you, and most of these entries will have multiple different options. I'm going to stick with this really basic one, just this golden like Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. So once you click on that, then click on the download button. That's going to show the raw image file. We're going to right click on that, save image as, and we're just going to save it in our same folder. It doesn't matter what the name is. We're going to rename that in a moment. So once we've downloaded that image, we can go back to the search icon here and look for our next game, which is Life Force. So I'm going to click on that one and then go into the grids, and you should see multiple different options here. I think I'm going to go with this one. I think that looks the best. I do like kind of this old school like actual box art, but I don't know, I like the way that this one looks with the big snake head. So we're going to go with that one. We're going to hit download, and then again right click on here, save image as, and then save it. Of note, the box art needs to be in PNG file format. Most of them will be PNG, but sometimes they'll have a GIF or maybe a JPEG, so make sure that you are getting PNGs. Okay, now let's search for our third game. That's going to be Metroid Fusion. So we're just going to type that in, and then once it shows up, click on it, then click on the top grids, and then we'll have a bunch of different options. And I don't know, there's a lot of really nice ones here, some really cool artwork. I think I'm going to go with this one right here. It's kind of dark and brooding and very different from the original artwork, so I think that's kind of neat. So I'm going to click on download, it'll show the larger image, right click, save image as, and there we go. Next up we have Pokemon Unbound. This is a ROM hack, so it may not have a lot of different options, but hopefully there'll be a couple that we can choose from here. So let's click on this, top grids, and yeah, there's plenty of options right here. So I think I'm going to go with this one, just the first one, just because it's kind of standard looking, and I don't know, I really like this logo. So let's click on download, and then again, right click, save image as, and then save it. And then finally, our last game in the 5 is going to be Super Mario World. You may have heard of this one. One of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time. So go to top grids, and there's a lot of options here, but I think I'm going to stick with a more classic blue. I think this one looks good. This one up top is like a bright blue, but I like how this one is just a little bit more light. So we're going to click on this one and then download this. Okay, back in the folder here, we've got our 5 different images that correspond to our games, but obviously the names don't match. So we need to match the names next. This is also pretty easy. I'm going to change the view here to be large icons. That way I can see the actual image of what we're talking about. So let's start with Metroid Fusion here. So grab the Metroid Fusion file and then just slowly click on it twice so that you get all of this stuff. And then double click on it so that you get even the GBA extension, then copy that. So you're getting all the text right here of this name. So then click on this, then click it again, and then go and paste that in. So it should show the name of the game, .gba.png. So very similar to the original one, but it has that .png extension at the end of it. So that's all you have to do for each of these pictures. Let's do it again with Pokemon Unbound. So I'm going to go over here, double click on it slowly so that I can open it up, do Control A so I capture the whole thing, then copy with Control and C, then go back over here, double click on it, and then Control V to paste. So Pokemon Unbound GBA PNG. So now just do that with all of the other images. It's a little bit tedious, but I kind of like that it's kind of painful to do this. Like, it shouldn't be a very easy process. That way you don't do it too often. Instead, you're actually, having a little bit of pain throughout this process to make sure that you only do it every once in a while, which means that therefore you will play these actual games. So it's a little bit of a tough love situation where I'm showing you how to do this, but I'm also not going to automate any of it because I think that there should be a little bit of work involved when setting up a device like that. And I think that, there's an element of pride when you have something set up on your own as well. Okay, so here we are. We have now renamed those images. It really was not that hard, was it? And so we've got all of these that correspond to each of the games. This is perfect. So now that we have all of our images along with our game files, we need to resize the images because MINUI will not do that on its own. So you want to do that to basically correspond to the size of the resolution on your display. Most of the devices that run MINUI have a 480p resolution, so we'll focus on that, but I will also give you the numbers for something with a higher resolution like the TrimUI Brick. And to resize our images, we're going to use this website, imageresizer.com. It's kind of right on the nose, right? So what we're going to do is just pick all of our files and just select them all at once, and then we can drag and drop into the main folder. It'll take a moment to upload all of the pictures, but once they're ready, we can then resize them. Now, the great thing about this is that all of them are the same resolution, 600 by 900, which means that we can just change them all at once. It's one of the great things about using SteamGridDB in particular, because it just makes everything universal. So over on the left side under resize settings, I'm going to change the width to 200. So 200 is going to be perfect with a 480p display. If you have something with a higher resolution like the TrimUI Brick, then I would change the width here to 300. And you can also go bigger or smaller if you would like, 250, 350. Just bear in mind that the image is going to cover up the text and it may not be something that looks good to you. I think that 200 is the good sweet spot for 480p displays. Once you have that set, you can just go ahead and click export. It'll take a moment to do all of the resizing. You can see the processing here. Once it's done, you will see a little button right here that will say download all images. We're going to click on that. It's going to convert it to a zip file, and then we can just save it. And so back in this main downloaded folder, we've got this resized images zip file. I'm going to open that up, and these are our 5 images that have been resized. So now I want to move these over to the micro SD card so that we can have them displayed as we navigate through. So we're going to go into the ROMs folder and then pick one of the systems that has these games. Let's go to Game Boy Advance first. This one, as you can see, has got 2 games in it, so we want to make a new folder. We're going to right click here, hit new, and then folder, and then we're going to name this folder .res. And that's going to be a hidden folder, but within that is where we put our image. So grab our 2 Game Boy Advance games, Metroid Fusion and Pokemon Unbound, and then copy them over. Let's do the same thing for the next one. We'll go to Game Boy Color. That's going to be Link's Awakening. So same thing here, new, and then folder, and then name it .res. Once you have that, you can open it up and then move the image over. It'll copy it, and then we're good. We got 2 more to do. Let's go over to NES, and then this is going to be Life Force. We're going to hit new, then folder, and then .res. And then finally, we'll just move that image over, and then one more time with Super Nintendo. So go back over here, and at this point, you know exactly what to do. So we're going to type in .res, and then open it up, and then we're going to move that file over. Now we're good. Okay, so at this point, we're almost done. We've added MINUI, we've added our ROM files as well as images that correspond to them, and we've added the BIOS files in case you want them. The only thing left is to add this game view tool. This is going to change it from a system view, which it is by default, meaning that you will navigate through your systems, then the games, to a game view, which means that all the games are just going to show up on your main homepage. And because we only have 5 games installed, that means we're going to have 5 games showing up on the front page, and that's exactly what we want, a very focused experience. So let's let's go ahead and extract this file. We're going to open it up with 7-zip, and then we'll have the game view pack. We want to go and open up the tools section. And within here, you have different folders for different devices. And so this will depend on what you're using. So for example, if you have the RG35XX Plus or any of the other XX devices from Anbernic, this is the folder where you will put that pack file in. But if you have something like the Miyoo Mini Flip like I'm using, it's going to be in this Miyoo Mini folder. Now, some of these are a little bit hard to understand. So the My 282 is actually the Miyoo A30. So that's going to be that little horizontal handheld that Miyoo came out with. The My 355 is the Miyoo Flip, the original one that had all those broken hinges. And then also the TG5040 is the TrimUI brick. So those ones are not very intuitive, but the other ones kind of make sense. So let's go into the Miyoo Mini folder, and then I'm going to just add this game view pack. And so there we are ready to go. And of note, in this game view pack, there is a README file that'll walk you through this whole installation process that we just talked about. I'm just kind of doing it in video format. And so at this point, we are ready to go. We've got every file that we need in here. If you ever want to swap out a game, for example, you want to remove a ROM because maybe you finished it, say for example, Link's Awakening, and you want to add a new one, or maybe you want 6 or 7 games instead of 5, then just repeat the process that we just did. Add the game file, add the image file in the .res folder, and that's really about it. And like I mentioned already, it's a little bit painful to change out these games or to add new ones or to resize the images, and that's all on purpose. It's kind of like the pain of how it used to be back in the day, where if you wanted to play a new game, you had to go to Blockbuster and spend $3 to rent it, or you had to save up your money to go and actually buy it at Toys R Us. And so this is that same thing where there's a little bit of pain in getting your hands on that game, which I think just makes it a little bit more special. Okay, I've now ejected my microSD card from my computer. I'm ready to put it in my Miyoo Mini Flip and see the results of all of our hard work. So let's go ahead and start up the device. The first time around, it's going to say installing MIUI, so it's just moving over files and everything that is necessary for the initial setup. So this is what it looks like right out of the gate. So we've got the different systems here, Game Boy Advance, and we can go in and see our games. But we want to have all of the games showing up on the front page. That's where that tool is going to come into play. We're going to go over here and then Game View. We're going to open that up. It's going to give us the option to enable Game View. After you do that, it might take a minute to do this. It depends on the size, like of the number of games that you have. But after you've gone through, you saw it was pretty instant at that point. Now when we back out, there we go. We've got all of our 5 games right here. So every time that I start up this system from now on, it's going to show all of my games all at once right here on the front, and it's going to be in alphabetical order. And so there we go. If you ever want to get back to the regular system view, you can just go back into Tools, then into Game View again. And this time you just select Disable Game View. It's going to do the same thing. We're not going to do that because this is how I want to have it set up. And so this is a very simple idea that we basically are just putting our 5 games front and center, and we don't have access to any other games. We just have these ones, which means that the moment you start this thing up, you've got these to choose from, and that's it. And I think it's a perfect setup. So now let me walk you through what it's like to actually play some of these games with this setup. So I'm going to go over to Super Mario World and then hit the A button. And then after a moment, there you go. It started right up. Now, after this, it's basically just playing the game. So everything should be working out of the box. But if you want to make some adjustments to it, you can do that as well. You can press the menu button. And within here, you can do things like save your state. If you want to save state, you can load it from here as well. And then we can also go into the options menu. This is going to give us additional things to mess with. Now, the beauty of MIUI is that you don't actually have to make any of these changes. It's all been pre-configured for you, but there is one that I like to use, which is the shortcuts menu. So within here, the main one I like to set is save and quit. So I can press the A button, and I'm going to make that one menu plus start. This means anytime I'm playing the game, I can press menu and start to exit out of the game, and then also save it at the same time, which makes it really easy to get in and out of. And now that I made a change to the shortcut, I need to back out here, go to save changes, and then save for console. That means every Super Nintendo game is going to work like that. So let's go ahead and test that out. I'm going to hit menu and start to exit out of the game. And now you can see that when we hover back over Super Mario World, there's an option right here that says resume. So I can either press the A button and then go and load my save game, or I can go and press the X button instead, and it's going to load exactly where I was before. Now, one of my favorite things about MIUI with a clamshell is that it's a very intuitive way to get in and out of your games. Let's go back to Super Mario World and start it up. But this time, let's say that we are ready to close it out, but we don't want to exit out of of the game. We just want to close the lid. So by doing that, it's going to put the device to sleep, but kind of keep this green light on. So I can then open it up and then get right back to it. Again, it's almost instantaneous. But if I leave it in sleep mode like this for about 2 or 3 minutes, the green light will go off. It's going to save the game and it'll power down the device too to save on battery life. And so now we've got the power off, so it's not going to drain the battery at all, but it's still saved where I was in the game. If we open it back up and then we turn the power back on, it's going to start up the system and then also load up MIUI, but then also load up the game and your save at the same time. So you're basically instantly going back to where you were when you close the lid. And that's one of my favorite things about this entire setup, is that it makes it very pick up and play friendly, which I think is the perfect way to play a system like this. And again, if I'm ready to jump into a different game, I can press menu and start. It's going to take me back to the menu, and then I can just pick a different game and then load that one up instead. And so for me, this is the beauty of a 5-game handheld setup with MIUI. I can navigate through the systems right here and see all of the artwork as I'm going through. I can jump in and out of my games. It's all compatible with the clamshell form factor too. So this makes it kind of the ultimate pick up and play and very focused gaming experience. I also think that something like this would be an excellent gift for a child or a loved one who, only has a few games they want to play and you want to kind of curate that experience for them. This is going to make it a super intuitive experience overall. And the beauty of this whole setup is that the MIUI SD card is compatible with most of the other devices. So all I did here is I took out my SD card from the Miyoo Mini Flip, put it in my regular Miyoo Mini Plus, and here we are. I've got everything right here, including my save games. I can load right back into Super Mario World where I was before. And so the hotkeys, everything else are going to work back and forth. So that's the wonderful thing about this kind of setup, is that no matter what sort of handheld you happen to have lying in a drawer or collecting dust, you should be able to have a setup like this work perfectly fine. Okay, one last thing. As you're navigating through, you may not want to see the tools folder at all once you have everything set up. So the easiest way to do that is to rename this folder and just give it like an _off or something like that. And that's actually going to make it so it's not visible in the menu system. So if you want an even cleaner experience, that's what I would recommend doing, is changing the name of your tools folder. Of course, you can always go back and change this to tools if you ever want to go back to the regular system view, but that's just an easy way to clean up your interface. So there we are. That's my very simple 5-game handheld setup. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you like the idea of something like this? Do you have a handheld that you're not really using? If you're going to make a setup like this, leave a comment down below. Let me know the 5 games that you're going to set it up with, or maybe you've got 10 games you want to try. There's really no limit to what you want to set up, but I do like that limited experience. As always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.